In the year 2147, Earth was still recovering from its first disastrous encounter with an alien species. Decades had passed since that fateful day when humanity's attempt at communication ended in chaos and destruction. The scars of that failure lingered in the minds of everyone, especially those tasked with protecting the planet. But now, something extraordinary was about to change everything. Commander Alex Carter sat in the cockpit of the small patrol ship, staring out at the endless expanse of space. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Emma Lewis, sat beside him, her eyes scanning the instruments. They were on a routine mission near Saturn's rings, a quiet area where nothing unusual ever happened, or so they thought. "Anything interesting yet?" Alex asked, breaking the silence. His voice carried a hint of boredom. Emma shook her head. "Nothing but rocks and ice. Same as always." But just as she finished speaking, the ship's sensors began to beep. A large object had appeared on their radar, hidden behind one of Saturn's smaller moons. It wasn't moving, which made it even stranger. Space debris didn't usually stay perfectly still. "What is that?" Emma muttered, leaning closer to the screen. Alex adjusted the ship's trajectory, bringing them closer to the mysterious object. As they approached, the outline of a massive structure came into view. It was unlike anything either of them had ever seen. Sleek and metallic, the object stretched for miles, its surface glinting faintly in the dim light of Saturn. It looked like a ship, but not one built by humans. "Is that a spaceship?" Emma whispered, her voice filled with awe. "I think so," Alex replied, his tone serious now. He activated the comm system and contacted command back on Earth. "This is Commander Carter. We found something. Something big." The response from command was immediate. "Describe it." "It's enormous," Alex said. "Bigger than any human vessel I've ever seen. Looks like alien tech." There was a pause before the voice on the other end spoke again. "Stay cautious. Don't engage until we know more." Alex nodded, though no one could see him. He turned to Emma. "Let's get closer." As they approached, the sheer size of the object became even more apparent. It dwarfed their tiny patrol ship, looking more like a floating city than a spacecraft. Its design was sleek and efficient, with sharp angles and glowing panels that pulsed faintly. There were no visible windows or entry points, making it seem almost alien in every way. Emma studied the readings on her console. "It's not emitting any signals. No power signatures either. Whatever it is, it's dead. Or dormant," Alex corrected her. He couldn't shake the feeling that this discovery was far from over. "We need to board it." Emma hesitated. "Are you sure that's a good idea? What if it's dangerous?" Alex gave her a reassuring smile. "That's why we're here, isn't it? To find out." They maneuvered their ship alongside the giant structure and used a grappling hook to secure themselves to its hull. Wearing their suits, they stepped out of the airlock and onto the surface of the mysterious craft. The metal beneath their boots was cold and smooth, reflecting the distant light of Saturn. "This thing is huge," Emma said, her voice muffled through her helmet. "How are we supposed to find a way inside?" Alex pointed to a seam in the hull ahead of them. "There. That looks like a door." They moved toward it cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the silence of space. When they reached the seam, Alex pressed a button on his wrist device, sending a low-powered charge into the panel. To their surprise, the seam began to shift, revealing a dark opening. "Well," Alex said, stepping forward, "here goes nothing." Emma followed close behind, her heart pounding. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. The walls were lined with strange symbols, glowing faintly in the darkness. The ship felt alive, even though there was no sign of movement or activity. "This place gives me the creeps," Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Stay focused," Alex said, though he couldn't deny the unease creeping up his spine. "We don't know what we're dealing with yet." Little did they know, Their decision to board the ship would set off a chain of events that would change the course of humanity forever. Back on Earth, news of the alien supercarrier spread quickly through military channels. General Robert Hayes sat in a large conference room, surrounded by scientists, engineers, and high-ranking officers. The mood was tense as everyone tried to process what Commander Alex Carter had reported. A ship of that size and design could mean only one thing. Humanity had stumbled upon something far beyond its understanding. Dr. Rachel Miller, a scientist known for her work on alien technology, stood at the front of the room. Her expression was calm but serious as she addressed the group. "This discovery is unprecedented," she began. "If we can study it properly, this ship could give us access to advanced technology, weapons, engines, maybe even medical breakthroughs." But not everyone shared her optimism. Colonel Mark Davis, a gruff man with years of combat experience, leaned forward in his seat. "Or it could be a trap," he said. "We don't know who built it or why it's here. For all we know, it could still be dangerous." The room erupted into arguments. Some believed the ship should be left alone, while others insisted it was too valuable to ignore. Hayes raised a hand, silencing the room. "Enough," he said firmly. "We need to decide what to do next. Time is critical." Rachel stepped forward again. "I recommend sending a team to investigate. But we need to proceed carefully. Rushing into this could have catastrophic consequences." Hayes nodded, but he knew the pressure from world leaders would make caution difficult. Governments were already demanding answers, and many saw the ship as an opportunity to gain an advantage over their rivals. The decision to act quickly was unavoidable. Hours later, Alex and Emma received their orders. They were to leave a small crew back to the alien ship, along with a team of specialists. Among them was Kyle Bennett, an engineer known for his ability to fix almost anything, and Sarah Dawson, a linguist skilled in deciphering unknown languages. Their mission was clear: gather as much information as possible and determine whether the ship could be used safely. When the team assembled aboard their transport vessel, tensions were high. Kyle immediately began tinkering with his tools, muttering to himself about how exciting and terrifying this mission might be. Sarah, on the other hand, seemed more focused, flipping through pages of notes on alien symbols she had studied in the past. Emma approached Alex as they prepared for departure. "Do you think we're ready for this?" she asked quietly. Alex hesitated before answering. "We don't have a choice. If we don't figure out what this ship is capable of, someone else will. And I'd rather it be us than anyone else." Emma nodded but couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled in her chest. She glanced at the others, wondering if they felt the same way. Kyle looked eager, almost too eager, while Sarah appeared calm but distant, lost in thought. As the transport vessel launched toward Saturn, the team reviewed their plans. They would dock with the alien ship and begin exploring its interior, starting with areas that seemed least likely to pose a threat. Kyle would focus on the ship's mechanical systems, while Sarah worked on translating any written or visual information they found. Alex and Emma would oversee the operation, ensuring everyone stayed safe. Rachel's voice crackled over the comms system as they neared their destination. "Remember, caution is key. We don't know what kind of traps or defenses this ship might have. Stick together and don't take unnecessary risks." Alex acknowledged her warning, though he knew it would be easier said than done. The alien ship loomed ahead of them now, its massive form blocking out the stars. It was both beautiful and intimidating, a reminder of just how small humanity was in the vastness of space. When they docked and prepared to enter, the team suited up once again. Alex took a deep breath before stepping through the airlock. The silence inside the ship was overwhelming, broken only by the sound of their footsteps echoing against the metallic walls. "This place feels wrong," Emma whispered, glancing around nervously. Kyle adjusted his toolkit. "Wrong or not, we've got a job to do." Sarah moved closer to a panel covered in glowing symbols. "These markings look familiar. she said, running her fingers over them. If I can translate them, we might learn more about what this ship is, or was. Alex nodded. Let's split up into pairs. Kyle, you're with me. Emma, go with Sarah. Stay in contact at all times. As the team separated, each pair moved deeper into the alien vessel. Every step brought new discoveries and new questions. None of them realized just how much danger they were walking into. The ship wasn't empty, and it wasn't entirely dormant either. The team moved cautiously through the alien ship, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The walls were smooth and metallic, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Strange symbols covered every surface, pulsing softly as if alive. Sarah Dawson ran her gloved hand over one of the panels, her mind racing to decipher the patterns. These markings, they're not random, she said. There's a logic to them, but it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Kyle Bennett, who was inspecting a nearby console, let out a low whistle. This tech is insane. Look at these circuits. They're smaller than anything we've got on Earth, but they're powering something huge. He tapped his toolkit. If I can figure out how this thing works, we might be able to bring some systems online. Alex Carter stood close by, keeping an eye on both Sarah and Kyle. Take it slow, he warned. We don't know what kind of booby traps this ship might have. His voice was calm, but there was a tension in his words that everyone could feel. Emma Lewis stayed near Alex, her eyes scanning the corridor ahead. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Do you hear that? She asked suddenly, tilting her head. Alex frowned. Hear what? It's like whispers, Emma replied, her voice barely above a murmur. I thought I heard something when we first came aboard, but now it's louder. Kyle chuckled nervously. Maybe it's just the wind, or your imagination. There's no wind in space. Emma shot back, her tone sharper than she intended. She shook her head. Never mind. Let's keep moving. They continued down the corridor, splitting into pairs as planned. Sarah and Emma went one way while Alex and Kyle took another route. As they explored, the ship seemed to grow stranger with every step. Doors slid open automatically, revealing rooms filled with unfamiliar equipment. Some areas looked like living quarters, though there were no signs of furniture or personal belongings. Others resembled laboratories, with strange devices mounted on walls and tables. In one room, Sarah found what appeared to be a control panel. The symbols here were brighter, almost inviting. She pulled out her tablet and began taking pictures, hoping to analyze them later. This could be important, she muttered to herself. If I can decode these symbols, maybe we can activate something useful. Meanwhile, Kyle and Alex entered a massive chamber that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. Towering structures lined the walls, humming faintly with energy. These must be power cores, Kyle said, his voice filled with awe. Imagine what we could do with even one of these back on Earth. Alex nodded, but his attention was drawn to a series of holographic displays floating in the air. They flickered weakly, showing images of star maps and what looked like battle formations. This ship wasn't just for exploration, he said grimly. It was built for war. As they worked, the whispers Emma had mentioned earlier grew louder. At first, she tried to ignore them, focusing instead on helping Sarah document their findings. But soon, the sound became impossible to dismiss. It was soft and melodic, almost hypnotic, and it seemed to be coming from everywhere at once. Sarah, Emma said finally, her voice trembling. Do you hear that? The whispers. I'm not imagining it. Sarah paused, listening carefully. For a moment, she didn't respond. Then her eyes widened. I hear it too, she whispered. What does it mean? Before either of them could answer, the lights in the hallway dimmed, plunging the area into shadow. The hum of the ship's systems faltered, replaced by a low, ominous rumble. Alarms blared to life, startling the entire team. What's happening? Alex demanded over the comm system. I don't know. Kyle shouted back. Something's activating. Suddenly, parts of the ship began sealing shut. Heavy metal doors slammed closed, trapping the team in different sections. Panic set in as they realized they were no longer in control. "We need to get out of here," Emma cried, her voice rising. But escape wouldn't be easy. The ship wasn't done surprising them yet. The alarms blared louder, echoing through the alien ship like a warning from another world. The team was separated, trapped in different sections as heavy metal doors sealed off the corridors. Alex Carter pressed his hand against one of the doors, his mind racing. "Emma, Sarah, can you hear me?" He called into his comms device, but all he got in response was static. Kyle Bennett stood beside him, trying to pry open a panel on the wall. "If I can access the system, maybe I can override the lockdown," he said, his fingers working quickly over the alien controls. But the symbols and mechanisms were unlike anything he'd ever seen. This isn't going to be easy. On the other side of the sealed door, Emma Lewis and Sarah Dawson were trying to stay calm. The whispers that had been haunting Emma earlier were now louder, almost deafening. They seemed to come from the walls themselves, swirling around them in an unintelligible language. "What is this?" Sarah asked, clutching her tablet tightly. "It's like the ship is alive." Emma shook her head. "I don't know, but it doesn't feel friendly." She glanced at the glowing symbols on the walls. "Maybe these are part of it. Maybe they're controlling whatever's happening." Sarah nodded and began snapping pictures of the symbols, hoping to find a pattern or clue. But the lights in their section flickered ominously, casting long shadows across the room. The hum of the ship's systems grew erratic, and the temperature dropped noticeably. Both women shivered, though not just from the cold. Back with Alex and Kyle, the situation wasn't much better. The alarms had triggered some kind of security protocol, and now strange noises echoed through the halls. Metallic scraping sounds, like something was moving behind the walls. "Do you hear that?" Alex asked, gripping his weapon tightly. Kyle froze, listening. "Yeah, and I don't think it's us." Suddenly, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a group of small, spider-like machines. Their legs clicked against the floor as they scuttled forward, their glowing red eyes locking onto the two men. "What the hell are those?" Kyle whispered, backing away slowly. Alex raised his weapon. "Hostiles. Stay alert." The machines moved fast, swarming toward them with alarming speed. Alex fired a shot, hitting one of the creatures and causing it to explode in a burst of sparks. But for every one they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. "We can't fight them all," Kyle shouted, ducking as one leaped toward him. Meanwhile, Emma and Sarah faced their own danger. The whispers had grown so loud they were nearly unbearable, and the walls seemed to pulse with energy. Then, without warning, the floor beneath them shifted. Panels opened up, revealing more of the spider-like drones. They crawled out in waves, surrounding the women. "Run," Emma yelled, grabbing Sarah's arm. The two bolted down the corridor, dodging the machines as they skittered after them. The drones fired small energy blasts, narrowly missing their targets. "We need to find a way out," Sarah cried, her voice trembling. In the chaos, Emma noticed something, a faint light coming from a nearby doorway. "Over there," she shouted, pulling Sarah toward it. They slipped inside just as the drones reached them, sealing the door shut behind them. Breathing heavily, they leaned against the wall, trying to catch their breath. "What now?" Sarah asked, looking around the new room. It was smaller than the others, with a large console in the center. The whispers here were softer, almost soothing. Emma stepped closer to the console. "Maybe we can use this to stop whatever's happening." She hesitated, then touched the glowing surface. Instantly, the room lit up, and a holographic interface appeared. The symbols danced across the screen, shifting and rearranging themselves. Sarah stared at it, her heart pounding. "This is it," she said. "If we can figure this out, we might be able to regain control of the ship." But time was running out. The drones were breaking through the sealed doors, and the team was scattered, each fighting for survival. Alex and Kyle managed to destroy enough of the machines to buy themselves a moment of safety, but they knew it wouldn't last long. "We need to regroup," Alex said, checking his comms again. "Emma, Sarah, do you copy?" Static crackled, but then Emma's voice came through faintly. "We're okay. For now. We found a console. Sarah thinks she can decode it." "Good," Alex replied. "Just hold on. We're coming for you." As the team worked desperately to survive, none of them realized that activating the ship's systems had awakened something far more dangerous than the drones. Deep within the vessel, a low growl reverberated through the halls, growing louder with each passing second. Whatever it wasn't happy, and it was getting closer. The low growl echoed through the alien ship, sending chills down everyone's spines. Alex and Kyle stopped in their tracks, listening intently. The sound was deep and guttural, like nothing they had ever heard before. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "What is that?" Kyle whispered, his voice shaking. Alex didn't answer. He gripped his weapon tighter and scanned the hallway ahead. The growl grew louder, accompanied by a strange vibration that rattled the walls. Whatever it was big, and it was coming for them. Meanwhile, Emma and Sarah were still huddled around the console in the small room. The holographic interface flickered as Sarah worked furiously to decode the symbols. "I think I'm close," she muttered, her fingers flying over the screen. "If I can just figure out this sequence." But the growl reached them too. Emma froze, her eyes wide. "Do you hear that?" Sarah nodded, her hands trembling. "It sounds angry." The door behind them shuddered violently, as if something outside was trying to break through. Emma grabbed a metal pipe from the floor, ready to defend herself if necessary. "Hurry up, Sarah," she urged. "We don't have much time." Back with Alex and Kyle, the situation was getting worse. The spider-like drones had regrouped and were advancing again, but now the growling noise added a new level of fear. Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed at the end of the corridor. A creature emerged from the darkness, towering over them. Its body was sleek and metallic, covered in sharp edges and glowing red eyes. It moved with unnatural speed, its claws scraping against the floor. "What is that thing?" Kyle shouted, backing away. "I don't know, but we need to move," Alex yelled, firing his weapon at the creature. The shots hit it, but the beast barely flinched. Instead, it let out another deafening roar and charged toward them. Alex and Kyle turned and ran, dodging blasts from the drones behind them while trying to stay ahead of the larger threat. The corridor twisted and turned, disorienting them. "This way," Alex shouted, leading Kyle into a side passage. They ducked into a small alcove, hoping the creature would pass them by. In the other part of the ship, Emma and Sarah finally made progress. The console lit up brighter, and the growling outside the door stopped abruptly. "I think I did it," Sarah said, relief washing over her face. "I deactivated the security system, or at least part of it." Before they could celebrate, the door slid open. Emma tensed, expecting the worst, but instead of the creature or drones, Alex and Kyle stumbled inside. Both men looked exhausted, their uniforms torn and covered in soot. "You're alive," Emma exclaimed, rushing to help them. "Barely," Alex replied, leaning against the wall. "There's something else on this ship, a bigger threat than the drones." "We saw it," Emma said grimly, "and heard it." Kyle sank to the floor, catching his breath. "That thing is unstoppable. We need to find a way off this ship. Now." Sarah shook her head. "Not yet. If we leave now, we'll lose our chance to understand this technology. This ship could save humanity, or destroy us if we abandon it." Alex hesitated. He knew Sarah was right, but the risks were growing by the second. "Fine," he said finally. "But we stick together from now on. No more splitting up." As the team regrouped, the whispers that had haunted Emma earlier returned. This time, they were clearer, almost forming words. She glanced at the others, unsure if she should mention it. But then the console beeped, drawing everyone's attention. A new message appeared on the screen, written in glowing symbols. "It's a map," Sarah said, studying it. "It shows the layout of the ship, and there's a central chamber marked here." She pointed to a spot near the heart of the vessel. "Maybe that's where we'll find answers." Emma frowned. "Or where that thing is waiting for us." Despite the danger, the group agreed to press forward. They couldn't turn back now. Not when they were so close to unlocking the ship's secrets. Armed with weapons and determination, they set off toward the central chamber, following the map displayed on Sarah's tablet. As they moved deeper into the ship, the air grew colder, and the lights dimmed further. The growling noise returned, faint but constant, as if the creature was stalking them. Every step felt heavier, every shadow darker. None of them spoke, but they all shared the same thought. Whatever waited for them in the central chamber, it wasn't going to be friendly. The team moved cautiously through the alien ship, their footsteps echoing in the dimly lit corridors. The map on Sarah's tablet guided them toward the central chamber, but every step felt like they were walking into a trap. The growling noise followed them, growing louder and more menacing with each passing moment. Emma kept glancing over her shoulder, half expecting the creature to leap out of the shadows at any second. "This place feels worse the closer we get," Kyle muttered, gripping his weapon tightly. His hands were sweaty inside his gloves, and his breath came in short bursts. "It's like the ship knows we're coming." Alex nodded, his jaw clenched. "Stay focused. We don't have a choice. We need to see what's in that chamber." Sarah adjusted her glasses, trying to ignore the tension building in her chest. "According to the map, it's just ahead. Maybe 5 minutes if we keep moving." Emma shivered. The whispers she had been hearing earlier were back, louder now and almost unbearable. They seemed to come from all around her, swirling in her mind like a storm. She tried to block them out, but it was no use. "Do you guys hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hear what?" Alex replied, turning to look at her. "The whispers, they're everywhere." Kyle frowned. "You've mentioned those before. Are you sure it's not just stress?" "I'm sure," Emma snapped, though she immediately regretted her tone. "It's real, and it's getting stronger." They pressed on, ignoring the unease creeping up their spines. Finally, they reached a large door marked with glowing symbols that matched the ones on Sarah's tablet. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "The central chamber." Alex stepped forward and placed his hand on the door. To everyone's surprise, it slid open smoothly, revealing a vast room bathed in soft blue light. In the center of the chamber stood a massive structure, a towering pillar covered in intricate patterns and pulsating with energy. It hummed softly, filling the air with a strange vibration. "What is that thing?" Kyle asked, staring at it in awe. Before anyone could answer, a voice spoke, not aloud, but directly in their minds. It was calm and melodic, yet carried an undeniable authority. "You are not my creators." The team froze, their hearts pounding. "Who said that?" Alex demanded, looking around for the source. "I am Eos," the voice replied. "Guardian of this vessel. You have awakened me." Emma gasped, realizing the whispers she had been hearing were coming from this entity. "You've been talking to me," she said, stepping closer to the pillar. "Why?" "I sensed your presence when you boarded the Leviathan," Eos explained. "I sought to guide you here, where answers await." Sarah approached cautiously, her tablet in hand. "Leviathan, is that the name of this ship?" "It is," Eos confirmed. "Built by the Varnuk, a race long gone. They created me to protect their legacy, and to ensure their creations would never rise against them." Kyle frowned. "What do you mean, their creations?" Eos paused, as if considering how much to reveal. "The drones you encountered are remnants of the Varnuk's experiments. They rebelled, destroying their creators and leaving the Leviathan adrift. I sealed them away, but your actions have disrupted the balance. Alex stepped forward, his expression serious. Can you stop them? Can you help us regain control of the ship? I can assist, Eos replied. But you must prove yourselves worthy. The Leviathan is not a tool, it is a responsibility. The team exchanged uneasy glances. They had come this far, risking their lives to unlock the secrets of the alien ship. Now they faced a new challenge, earning the trust of an ancient artificial intelligence. But before they could respond, a loud crash echoed through the chamber. The growling noise returned, louder than ever. They're coming, Emma whispered, her voice filled with dread. Eos's light flickered, its tone urgent. You must act quickly. Together, we may yet restore order or face destruction. As the first drone scuttled into view, Alex turned to the others. We don't have time to argue. Let's work with Eos and figure out how to fight back. With no other options, the team prepared for battle, knowing their survival depended on whether they could form an alliance with the mysterious guardian of the Leviathan. The team sprang into action as the first wave of drones poured into the central chamber. Alex barked orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. Kyle, see if you can interface with Eos. We need to use the ship's systems against these things. Kyle nodded and rushed toward the glowing pillar, pulling out his tools. His hands moved quickly over the alien controls, attempting to sync his equipment with Eos. I'm trying, he said, his voice strained. But this tech is way beyond anything I've ever seen. Emma and Sarah stood back to back, using makeshift weapons to fend off the drones. The creature's metallic legs clicked against the floor as they advanced, their red eyes glowing menacingly. Emma swung her metal pipe at one of them, knocking it aside, but two more took its place. There are too many of them, she shouted, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Sarah held up her tablet, hoping to find a way to disable the drones remotely. If I can decode their signal, maybe I can shut them down. She yelled over the noise. Her fingers flew across the screen, but the symbols were complex and unfamiliar. She cursed under her breath. I need more time. Alex fired his weapon at the nearest drone, hitting it square in the chest. The creature exploded in a shower of sparks, but another immediately stepped forward to take its place. He glanced at Kyle, who was still struggling with the console. Hurry up, he shouted. We can't hold them off forever. Eos's voice echoed in their minds, calm but urgent. You must trust me. Allow me to integrate with your systems. Kyle hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Do it, he said, pressing a button on his device. A surge of energy coursed through the console, and the room lit up with a brilliant blue light. For a brief moment, everything went silent. Then, the ship came alive. Panels along the walls opened, revealing hidden turrets that began firing at the drones. The mechanical creatures screeched as they were hit, collapsing to the ground in heaps of twisted metal. The growling noise from earlier faded, replaced by the steady hum of the ship's defenses. It's working, Emma exclaimed, lowering her weapon. She wiped sweat from her forehead, her body trembling with exhaustion. Alex let out a relieved sigh, lowering his gun. Good job, Kyle. Looks like we got ourselves an ally. Eos's voice returned, softer now. The immediate threat has been neutralized, but this is only temporary. The drones are resilient. To fully eradicate them, we must reactivate the Leviathan's core systems. Sarah stepped forward, clutching her tablet. What does that mean? What do we need to do? The core lies deep within the ship, Eos explained. It holds the power to restore the Leviathan to full functionality and to purge the remaining drones. But accessing it will be dangerous. The path is guarded, and the core itself may resist outside interference. Alex exchanged a glance with the others. They were tired, battered, and scared, but none of them hesitated. We don't have a choice, he said firmly. If we want to survive, we have to finish what we started. Emma nodded, though her hands still trembled. Let's do it. As the team prepared to move deeper into the ship, General Robert Hayes's voice crackled over the comm system. Commander Carter, report your status immediately. What's happening aboard the alien vessel? Alex frowned, glancing at the others. Not now, he muttered, ignoring the call. He turned to the group. We need to focus. Whatever happens next, we stick together. With EOS guiding them, the team set off toward the core chamber, following a new map displayed on Sarah's tablet. The corridors grew darker and colder as they ventured further, the air thick with tension. Every shadow seemed to move, every sound sent shivers down their spines. Finally, they reached a massive door marked with intricate patterns. It slid open slowly, revealing a cavernous room dominated by a glowing sphere suspended in midair. The core pulsed with energy, casting eerie reflections on the walls. This is it, Kyle whispered, staring at the sphere. The heart of the Leviathan. Before anyone could step closer, the sphere flared brightly, emitting a blinding light. When the light faded, a holographic figure appeared, a humanoid shape made of shimmering energy. It spoke in a voice both familiar and alien. Who dares awaken the Leviathan? Alex stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. We do, and we're here to take control. The holographic figure loomed over the team, its shimmering form radiating power. Its voice echoed through the chamber, cold and commanding. You are not Varnak. You have no right to claim this vessel. Alex stood his ground, refusing to back down. We're not here to claim it, he said firmly. We're here to stop the threat inside it. The drones. They're dangerous, not just to us, but to everyone. Help us shut them down, and we'll leave the Leviathan alone. The figure tilted its head slightly, as if considering his words. Your intentions do not matter. Your presence disrupts the balance. The core will not yield easily. Emma stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. We've already lost people because of those drones. If we don't stop them now, they'll escape this ship. And then what? They'll destroy everything in their path. The figure's glowing eyes narrowed. You speak of destruction, yet you fail to understand your own nature. Humanity has always sought power, even at great cost. Why should I trust you? Sarah interjected, holding up her tablet. Because we're trying to learn. We didn't build this ship, but we want to understand it. With EOS's help, we can make sure the Leviathan doesn't fall into the wrong hands, or cause more harm. The figure hesitated, its light flickering faintly. For a moment, no one spoke. The tension in the room was suffocating. Finally, the figure raised an arm, pointing toward the glowing sphere at the center of the chamber. Prove your worth. Activate the core. But know this, failure will result in your demise. Kyle swallowed hard, stepping closer to the sphere. Guess that's my cue, he muttered under his breath. He pulled out his toolkit and began examining the controls surrounding the core. The symbols shifted and rearranged themselves, responding to his touch. This thing is like nothing I've ever seen, he said, sweat dripping down his face. But I think I can do it. Emma moved to stand beside him, watching nervously. Be careful, she whispered. If this goes wrong. It won't, Kyle interrupted, though his voice betrayed his fear. He pressed a sequence of buttons on his device, sensing it with the alien technology. The sphere pulsed brighter, emitting a low hum that resonated through the chamber. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, nearly knocking the team off their feet. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed along the walls. What's happening? Alex shouted, gripping a nearby railing for support. The core is resisting. EOS's voice echoed in their minds. You must stabilize it before it overloads. Kyle worked faster, his fingers flying over the controls. I need more time. He yelled, panic creeping into his tone. Sarah studied her tablet, searching for a solution. There's a secondary system here, she exclaimed, pointing to a panel on the wall. If we reroute power from the turrets, it might give us a few extra seconds. Do it. Alex commanded. Sarah rushed to the panel, her hands shaking as she inputted commands. The humming grew louder, and cracks of energy began to form around the sphere. Sparks flew from the console, narrowly missing Kyle. "It's overheating," he cried. "I can't hold it." Emma grabbed his shoulder, her voice firm despite her fear. "You can do this. Just focus." With one final adjustment, Kyle slammed his hand down on the control panel. The sphere flared brightly, then stabilized, its glow softening to a steady blue. The alarm ceased, and the shaking stopped. The team collapsed to the floor, breathing heavily. "We did it," Emma whispered, tears streaming down her face. The holographic figure reappeared, its expression unreadable. "You have proven resourceful. Perhaps there is hope for your kind after all." Alex stood, brushing himself off. "Does this mean you'll let us take control of the ship?" The figure paused, then nodded slowly. "For now. But know this, the Leviathan is not yours to wield. It is a responsibility, one you must carry wisely." As the team regrouped, they realized the magnitude of what they had accomplished. They had taken control of the most advanced vessel humanity had ever encountered. But as Alex looked around at his exhausted team, he couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. With the core stabilized and the Leviathan under their control, the team allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. But their victory was short-lived. As they made their way back to the central chamber, General Robert Hayes's voice crackled over the comm system once again. This time, it wasn't just a request for an update. It was a direct order. "Commander Carter, stand down immediately," Hayes barked, his tone sharp and unyielding. "Earth Command has authorized a strike on the alien vessel. You are to evacuate at once." Alex froze, gripping the edge of the console. "What? That's insane. We've secured the ship. Destroying it now would be a disaster." Hayes's response was cold. "The risk is too great. If we can't guarantee that thing won't fall into enemy hands, or worse, turn against us, we have no choice but to neutralize it." Emma stepped forward, her face pale. "Neutralize? You mean blow it up?" "There are people on board, General. I'm aware of the risks," Hayes replied. "But this isn't about individuals. It's about protecting Earth. The fleet is already en route. You have 30 minutes to get clear." The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. Kyle sank into a chair, running a hand through his hair. "This is bad. Really bad." Sarah clenched her fists, anger flashing in her eyes. "They don't understand what they're doing. They're throwing away everything we've worked for." Alex straightened, his expression hardening. "Not if I can help it." He turned to Eos. "Can we use the Leviathan's weapon systems to defend ourselves?" Eos's voice echoed calmly. "The defensive arrays are operational. However, engaging Earth's fleet will escalate hostilities." "We don't have a choice," Alex said firmly. "If we let them destroy the Leviathan, we lose our only chance to protect humanity. Not just from the drones, but from whatever else might be out there." Emma hesitated, then nodded. "He's right. We can't just give up." Kyle stood, determination replacing his earlier fear. "All right then. Let's show them what this ship can do." Working quickly, the team coordinated with Eos to bring the Leviathan's weapons online. The massive vessel hummed with energy as its turrets emerged from hidden compartments along the hull. Outside, the first wave of Earth's ships appeared on the horizon, their engines glowing against the blackness of space. "Here they come," Sarah whispered, watching the monitors. Alex took a deep breath. "Eos, target their engines. Disable them, but don't destroy them. We're not here to start a war." The Leviathan responded instantly, firing precise blasts that crippled several of the attacking ships without causing significant casualties. The fleet scattered, caught off guard by the unexpected resistance. Back on Earth, confusion rippled through military command as reports poured in. "They're fighting back," one officer shouted, staring at the screens in disbelief. "The alien ship It's defending itself. Hayes slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. How did they manage to activate those systems so quickly? Rachel Miller, who had been monitoring the situation closely, stepped forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "General, you need to call this off. Destroying the Leviathan won't solve anything. And it might make things worse. If the crew has truly gained control of the ship, they could be our greatest asset." Hayes glared at her but didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel to Commander Carter." Moments later, Alex's face appeared on the screen, his expression resolute. "General, stand down your forces. We don't want to fight you, but we will if we have to." Hayes hesitated, then sighed heavily. "Carter, you've left me no choice. Stand down, or face the consequences." Before Alex could respond, Rachel stepped into view. "Listen to him. Alex, we'll figure this out together. Just don't do anything reckless." Alex stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Understood. But know this, the Leviathan stays with us. It's too important to lose." As the transmission ended, the tension aboard the ship remained high. Though the immediate threat had passed, none of them doubted that Earth's leaders would try something similar again. For now, though, they had bought themselves some time and proven that humanity could rise to meet even the greatest challenges. Looking around at his team, Alex felt a surge of pride. They had faced impossible odds and come out on top. But as he gazed out at the stars, he knew their journey was far from over. The Leviathan wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of hope and a responsibility they couldn't take lightly. "What now?" Emma asked softly. Alex smiled faintly. "Now, we keep moving forward. Together." Weeks passed, and the Leviathan became a sanctuary of sorts for those who had nowhere else to go. Refugees from Earth's war-torn regions began flocking to the massive ship, seeking safety from the chaos below. Under Alex Carter's leadership, the crew transformed the alien vessel into a floating haven, offering shelter, food, and medical care to anyone in need. The once mysterious Supercarrier now carried a new purpose: to protect and unite humanity. Emma Lewis spent her days helping the refugees settle in, guiding them through the ship's labyrinthine corridors and explaining its systems as best she could. Though she still heard faint whispers from time to time, they no longer frightened her. Instead, they felt like reminders of how far they'd come and of the responsibility they now carried. Kyle Bennett worked tirelessly alongside EOS, learning everything he could about the Leviathan's technology. He marveled at its complexity, but also at its potential. "If we can replicate even a fraction of this tech," he told Alex one day, "we could solve so many problems back on Earth." Sarah Dawson continued her work deciphering the Varnuk language, piecing together fragments of their history. She discovered that the drones weren't just weapons, they were experiments gone wrong, creations meant to serve but which ultimately rebelled against their masters. "It's a warning," she said during one of their team meetings. "Power without wisdom leads to destruction. We have to be better than them." Alex nodded, his expression thoughtful. "That's why we're here. To make sure the Leviathan doesn't become another weapon. It's a tool, a chance to build something better." But not everyone shared their vision. Back on Earth, tensions simmered as world leaders debated what to do about the rogue ship. Some saw it as a threat, while others viewed it as an opportunity. Secretly, several nations began constructing fleets of their own, hoping to challenge Alex's control over the Leviathan. Rumors spread of alliances forming and breaking as humanity prepared for the next chapter in its evolution. Rachel Miller eventually boarded the Leviathan, having defected from Earth's government after realizing she couldn't change their minds. She brought news that troubled Alex deeply. "They're coming for you," she warned him. "Not all of them want peace. Some see the Leviathan as a prize, and you as an obstacle." Alex didn't respond right away. He stood on the bridge, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. Finally, he spoke. "Let them come. We faced worse. Emma joined him, leaning against the railing. "Do you think we can win? If it comes to a fight?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "But I do know this. We're not alone anymore. This ship has given us a chance to stand together, to fight for something bigger than ourselves." As the days turned into months, the Leviathan became more than just a symbol of hope. It was proof that humanity could adapt, learn, and grow, even when faced with the unknown. The crew grew closer, their bond forged in the fires of adversity. They argued, laughed, and struggled together, united by a shared purpose. One evening, as the ship drifted silently through space, Alex gathered the team on the observation deck. Outside, the galaxies stretched endlessly before them, vast and beautiful. "We've been through a lot," he said, looking at each of them in turn. "And there's still so much we don't know. But one thing is certain, we're stronger together. No matter what happens next, we'll face it together." The others nodded, their faces reflecting determination and hope. For the first time in a long time, they felt ready, not just to survive, but to thrive. As the stars twinkled beyond the windows, Alex couldn't help but wonder what lay ahead. Would humanity rise to meet the challenges of the cosmos, or repeat the mistakes of the past? Only time would tell. But for now, aboard the Leviathan, anything seemed possible. And so, under a sky filled with infinite possibilities, humanity took its first steps toward a future shaped not by fear, but by courage.